Hello, guys. So, I have recently read the book Chip War by Chris Miller. It's a very informative book um, about the microchip semiconductor industry, the technological aspects, geopolitics, business related aspects, existing rivalries, and the future. So, the author talks about how the semiconductor industry sort of represents globalization in the true sense. For example, say there is a design company, chip design company in US, say for example Intel. So such companies take blueprints from a company, UK based company, say ARM, which is owned by Japan, and they design the chips, give it for fabrication to countries like Taiwan. So Taiwan is a company called TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. So TSMC fabricates and makes the chips. For that, it purchases specialized gases and silicon wafers from Japan, and they use tools and machinery from companies based in Netherlands, US, and Japan for carving out that design into the chips. The design which is made from by the US companies, and once if this is fabricated, it is given to countries in Southeast Asia for testing before giving it to China for final assembly onto a phone or a computer. Now, this is where there is a misleading component which the author highlights. For example, it's written on back of say electronic components that it is designed in US and assembled in China, but it misses out the made or fabricated in Taiwan component, and which ultimately helps us derive the smile curve from whatever is written in the book. That smile curve is related to the value chain, where the highest value lies in the value chain and where is the lowest point. So, for example, chip design, marketing, R&D has the highest value. It lies in the two highest points of the smile curve, and the lowest point at the lowest point there it lies. It has the fabrication of the chips. So that's how the smile curve is formed. Now, it talks about historical aspects like the invention of transistor by Shockley, and also the prediction made way back in 1965 by Gordon Moore, who was the co-founder of Intel Corporation. So he predicted that the number of transistors um, on a microchip will keep on increasing, and it will double every 2 years. So that is nothing but the Moore's law. So this book talks about that, and it talks about monopolistic capitalism. So monopolistic capitalism, for example, there is a company Dutch ASML, Advanced Semiconductor Manufacturing Lithography. So it uses EUV lithography, that is extreme ultraviolet lithography, for etching the designs onto the chips, and it has complete monopoly in that space, and it is very difficult for any other company to dislodge such companies who has a monopoly in that particular space. And it has economies of scale also. Heavy capital expenditure is made and very dominant in that particular sector. Talking about dominance, the book also mentions about the chip supremacy. That is memory chip supremacy, DRAM, dynamic random access memory supremacy, which Japan had in the 80s. So US found it very challenging to compete with them, but ultimately the US government supported the local companies, and also the quota for Japan sort of reduced. Therefore, the market share of uh, the Japanese chips, DRAM chips, sort of declined. That is how governments help and geopolitics comes into play to challenge the supremacy, or ultimately leading to the shift of supremacy. So that is very well explained in the book. Then the early 2000s saw the categorization of the chips into three categories. That is logic chips, memory chips, and sensor based chips or radio frequency chips. So some countries are good in logic chips, some countries are good in memory chips. For example, Japan was very good in DRAM chips for a while. Now this brings us to the point called fabless revolution, which the author explains very well. Fabless revolution is basically the companies designing only chips but outsourcing the fabrication part. For example, US outsourcing the fabrication part to Taiwan. TSMC does it primarily. And so this book talks about how countries who are very powerful otherwise but make some mistakes and which has repercussions. For example, in Russia, the Soviet Union, when they were called the Soviet Union, they made a mistake of just copying the technology rather than investing in research and development. But as per Moore's law, we know how the transistors increase exponentially. The technological progress is made exponentially. So initially they were just a couple of years behind US. I mean, this is the Soviet Union, but later on that gap increased sort of exponentially and became very difficult for Russia by only copying the models, the business models, or the technology, basically. Uh, Now, talking about yeah, so there are some corporate mistakes which are highlighted. For example, Intel made a very big mistake of declaring chip uh, making of chips for Apple, which was ultimately given to Taiwan. Now Taiwan has become the largest customer of uh, Apple, and or rather, one of the major partners of Apple. Okay, and it's very and it's in a profitable uh, business position. So that opportunity was missed by Intel, and they accepted that they didn't see that coming. A significant portion of the book is devoted to China, um, and the rivalry between China and US. So in the space of semiconductors. So it highlights how US wants to stop Chinese supremacy in this particular sector, and they impose restrictions or have imposed restrictions in certain Chinese companies, especially during the Trump era. But China, nevertheless, is supporting the local government is supporting the companies, Chinese companies, and Huawei, for example, is only second to Qualcomm as far as wireless technology is concerned. They are investing billions of dollars for chip research and development and um, for the progress in that. And also YMTC, which is a Chinese company, again investing a lot of money uh, to nullify the choke points which are applied by US. So there's a lot of information in the book, given in a lot of detail, in a lucid manner, and we come to know about the history, the present, and the possible future, considering the rivalries and geopolitics and the business aspects in this technology, in the space of technology, in the aspect of semiconductor technology. So what will happen remains to be seen, but this book explains all the aspects wonderfully. So this was a short review about the book. So please do read the book and do provide your own opinions on the same. Thank you.